Several of you have had questions about swapping because it wasn't covered in the reading that was set aside for this lesson, and it was covered on the quiz in great detail. And I have already posted something in the discussion area, but there was a question about how you could run some of the code that was on the quizzes so that you could test it out for yourself. So I'm including in this video, first of all, an example of how you'd run code from the quiz, but then I'm also going to talk in detail about swapping as I covered it in the discussion post, because sometimes it's easier to see it in code. So I'm going to have both of those things in this video, and if you have any other questions, let me know. In order to run this in Eclipse, you would first need to take the method, the swap method, and paste that in after the main. So the main ends on line 7, the class ends now on 16, or 15. So paste your method in between after the main but in the class. Then take the other code and paste it inside of the main method. I then added 2 lines of code to show what the value of b would be before the swap was called and then after the swap was called. So I just print out the value of b before the swap and the value of b after the swap. And then I'll run that code so that you can see what the output is going to be. But basically, we have these 2 variables, a and b, declared on lines 6 and 7. On line 8, of course, the value is still 5. But then we assign a new value on line 9, which is the result of the method, and then print that value out. A little bit about swapping outside the context of a method at this point. Just to show you the general concept here. As I stated in my post in the discussion area, think of yourself with 2 glasses in front of you. One glass contains milk, one contains orange juice. You want to swap the contents between those 2 glasses so that the glass that currently contains milk will contain orange juice and the one that contains orange juice will contain milk. Now you know intuitively that if you pour the orange juice into the milk glass or the milk into the orange juice, you're going to lose the contents of one. It's the milk, when you pour the milk into the orange juice, it's going to push the orange juice out of the glass. And that's what's happening with memory. And so when we look at the code that's on this video right now, you have 2 variables, a and b. And think of memory as containers that contains values. So the memory slot we're referring to as a contains 3, and the memory slot we're referring to as b contains 5. So I can't swap these by simply moving b into a and then a into b, because if I move b into a, I lose the value that's in a. Both of them would contain 5 at that point. So same thing that would happen with the glasses. In order to swap between them, I need to introduce a 3rd glass that's empty. Then I can take the milk, pour it in there. I can take the orange juice, pour it where the milk used to be, and then take the milk from that 3rd glass and pour it where the orange juice was. We're doing the same thing when we swap something in a Java program. At the end of this program, we want the variables a and b to have the value of the other. And so the only way to do that, we can see when we print out 8 and 9, lines 8 and 9, we have the values 3 and 5. The only way to swap these is to introduce a 3rd temporary variable called, we'll call it c in this case. Could be called whatever you wanted. And we take the contents of A and we place them into C. It's just a placeholder. It's like the empty glass. Holds that value for safekeeping. Then we can take the value from B, place it in A. Then we take the value that we placed in C for safekeeping and we copy that to B. And now when we print lines 13 and 14, we see that A and B have the opposite values. So this allows you to swap between 2 things by using a temporary placeholder variable to hold the one value.